In the Middle Ages, on the European continent, a new world began to take shape from the ashes of the ancient world. Kings and nobles, religion and war, culture and learning, trade and reform. All these components came together to form a whole and laid the foundations of modern Europe. This is the epic and arduous birth story of Europe. In the first 2 centuries AD, the vast Roman Empire was the sole ruler of the region from east to west of the Mediterranean, from north to south. This period is known as Pax Romana, meaning Roman peace. According to some historians, it was a safe, systematic, and peaceful era, thanks to a strong central administration and an interconnected network of roads, cities, and trade routes. The people lived in stability and prosperity. During this time, a new belief emerged in the eastern part of the empire: Christianity. In its early days, this religion was a small Jewish sect, but over time it began to spread and grow throughout the Roman world. In the 4th century, with the support of emperors and the Senate, it became the official state religion of Rome. However, by this point, Rome was no longer as invincible as it once had been. Economic collapse, epidemics, famines, and invasions by barbarian tribes were contributing to the downfall of the empire. The vast lands of Rome had become impossible to govern from a single center. In AD 395, the Roman Empire could no longer withstand this decline and was divided into 2 parts: the Western Roman Empire, with its capital in Rome, and the Eastern Roman Empire, ruled from Constantinople and later known as the Byzantine Empire. Eastern Rome was populous, urban, wealthy, and powerful, while the West was more rural, poorer, and militarily weaker. Before long, this imbalance led to serious problems. Germanic tribes living beyond the empire's borders took action to take advantage of this great collapse. These warrior communities exerted pressure along the Rhine and Danube rivers, seeking to show Rome that it was no longer the sole ruler of the region. Western Rome no longer had the strength to resist them. At first, these tribes were allowed to settle, and soon after the borders were completely loosened. They could now move freely and settle wherever they wished within Roman lands. The authority of the empire weakened rapidly. In 476, the Germanic leader Odoacer deposed Romulus Augustulus, the last emperor of the Western Roman Empire. This young emperor held no real power, but his fall was accepted as the official end of Western Rome. With these events, the period known as the Dark Ages began. This new era rested on 3 main groups: Romans, Christians, and barbarians. From the early 6th century onward, Europe became a patchwork of small kingdoms ruled by barbarian kings. Over time, the European elite gradually adopted Christianity. The Ostrogoths in Italy, the Visigoths in Spain, and the Franks in Gaul came to prominence. However, these kingdoms lacked the infrastructure and strength required to establish a powerful state system like Rome's. Cities had been plundered, roads destroyed, and trade had nearly come to a halt. Money lost its value, standing armies dissolved and were replaced by mercenaries. Literacy declined, respect for learning diminished, and governance became largely ineffective. Most importantly, public security had disappeared. Western Europe continued to fragment into smaller political units. Meanwhile, the Byzantine Empire in the east remained strong. In the 6th century, Emperor Justinian I launched campaigns to reunify the Roman world and succeeded in recapturing Italy. However, shortly afterward, the Lombards seized control of the region. The bond between East and West was now completely broken. By the 7th century, a new power had emerged: the Islamic world. Arab armies conquered the Middle East and North Africa, and within a short time expanded across vast territories. As a result, 3 major civilizations now dominated the Mediterranean basin: the Islamic states, Byzantium, and Western Europe. In the 8th century, Islamic armies conquered Spain and advanced as far as Frankish lands. In 732, the Franks, under the command of Charles Martel, halted the advance of Muslim forces at the Battle of Tours. This victory marked the beginning of the rise of the Carolingian dynasty. Soon after, his son, Pepin the Short, ascended the Frankish throne. Pepin's son would become one of the most famous rulers in history, Charlemagne. Through decades of conquest, Charlemagne united much of Western Europe under a single banner. In AD 800, he was crowned Emperor of the Romans by the Pope. For the first time in 300 years, the West was once again ruled by an emperor. The Carolingian Empire became the first great power of medieval Western Europe. During Charlemagne's reign, education and scholarship flourished, ancient Roman knowledge was rediscovered, and the ideal of a Christian West grew stronger. However, this empire was neither as long-lasting nor as influential as Rome. After Charlemagne's death, his grandsons divided the empire among themselves. This division would eventually lay the foundations of modern France and Germany. At the same time, Vikings, Magyars, and Muslim forces began launching new raids across Europe. As kings weakened under these pressures, local nobles gained power. Europe became dotted with castles. Nobles controlled the land while peasants provided labor. With the rise of cavalry warfare, military service became the responsibility of the nobility. In this way, feudalism emerged in Europe, loyalty and military service in exchange for land. From the 10th century onward, Europe gradually became more livable. The climate improved, agriculture developed, and large-scale invasions came to an end. England unified, France grew stronger, and the Holy Roman Empire was established in Germany. The 10th century marked a true turning point. Agricultural innovations increased productivity, the population grew, towns and cities expanded, and trade revived. Universities were founded, and a new intellectual movement began to take shape. This growth soon led to expansion beyond Europe. The Normans conquered England. In Spain, the Reconquista against Muslim rule began. In Eastern Europe, expansion towards Slavic lands continued. During this period, the Crusades were launched to advance into the Middle East. By the middle of the Middle Ages, the papacy had gained immense power, and the church became a central authority. Intense struggles emerged between kings and the Pope. At the same time, stone castles became widespread, and the culture of chivalry developed. As a result, strong kingdoms emerged in France, England, and Spain. In the 14th century, Europe entered another dark period. The climate worsened, famine spread, and soon after, the Black Death struck. Reaching Europe in 1347, the plague wiped out nearly one-third of the population. It was one of the greatest disasters in human history. Yet over time, life began to recover. As labor became scarce, peasants demanded greater rights, and technological development accelerated. The Renaissance was born in Italy. Ancient Greek and Roman culture was rediscovered. The printing press was invented. Gunpowder reached Europe and fundamentally transformed warfare. Even castles could no longer withstand cannon fire. This shift strengthened kings and contributed to the rise of modern states. The 100 Years' War, Joan of Arc, the unification of Spain, and the fall of Granada. All of these developments opened the door to modern Europe. In 1453, when the Ottoman ruler Mehmed the Conqueror captured Constantinople, the capital of Byzantium, and in 1492, when Columbus reached the Americas, the Middle Ages came to an end. Europe was no longer merely a continent. It was beginning to emerge as a global power capable of transforming the world.